Hey, welcome back to Time with Steel Garage. So if you're just joining us, we're putting a Holley Sniper EFI on a 64 Buick Riviera. On the last episode, we got about halfway there. And on this episode, we're gonna finish it, hopefully crank this bad boy up and really get some final details done so that I can road trip it with the wife here coming up real quick. So let's get to it. So the last time you saw it, it did not look like this. I got up at like 4 in the morning the other day and I just went ahead and threw the top end back on. And newsflash, if you can unbolt the carburetor, you can put that on. And you didn't miss anything. It's 4 nuts, 4 bolts, okay? But I just couldn't bring myself to put that ugly, rusty top end back on it. So we went ahead and powder coated some stuff and painted the intake, and it's kind of a shocking green, but that's Buick nailhead green. Powder coated covers are a little bit glossier than the original color, and the intake's a little flatter than the original color, but you get the idea. You can see kind of the original color on this bracket here, and then back off on those colors. So anyhow, paint makes such a huge difference, and it looks a lot better this way than it did before. So the next thing I'm going to do is pull all the spark plugs out and run the new spark plug wires. And while we're talking about spark plug wires, everyone's got an opinion on spark plug wires. I personally hate building custom spark plug wires. So I cheated for this and I ordered a set of MSD superconductors that are pre-built for a 454 big block Chevy. Lengthwise, they should be fine for this. And then as far as gaskets, I used original cork style gaskets on this, on these old motors, loose tolerances. The cork works pretty good. I like to use gasket shellac on the top of the cork and kind of glue it to the valve cover so it comes up easily, and then I coat the bottom of the cork gasket with like a number 2 RTV that doesn't fully harden. So that's where we're at. It's time for plugs and wires. All right, well, we got all the old spark plugs out. Definitely was running rich. Most of them look similar. The driver's side forward cylinder is a little wet, but looking at it, the diode's burning the same as the rest of them. I think this might be power steering fluid or oil that's leaked down on the socket. So anyhow, we got some Autolite 85s here to replace them. These are pre-gapped to 34, I think. One other thing with this nail head too is this number 1 cylinder is never fun. I find the easiest thing to do is remove the back bracket off the compressor, and then you can fit a ratchet and a socket in there, and some thin wall tall sockets work best, 13/16, obviously. We got the wires roughly ran. The coil wire is going to be way too short for me, so I'll probably go to O'Reilly's. They sell a yellow coil wire that's universal, it's long. That'll be the easy fix, but for now I should be able to crank it like that. Like I said, I'm roughly mocking everything up because I want to hear it run before I finalize everything. I went ahead and got the return line hooked up, and next thing I'm going to do is attach my pressure line. But every time I build anything EFI, I attach a gauge so I can see exactly what my fuel pressure is at any given time. Because, you know, suck, squeeze, bang, blow, fuel, spark, air, instant notification of whether you're getting fuel. You don't hear the fuel pump, you don't see this thing where it's supposed to be, that's a big problem. So I thought this one looked cool, like kind of 60s California hot rod. So it's part number 650320, 100 PSI Marshall gauge made by Russell. And then in order to mount this on an AN6 style line the easy way, you can get yourself one of these Earl's fittings here. This is a AN0-tough-6 male to -6. Let me see here. The part number is, I can read it, AT100199ERL. And it's pretty sweet when you have these things because You literally just thread an AN6 female on. The gauge taps to this, and then your fuel line goes. So that goes to the Sniper, gauge goes here, pressure line goes here. Too easy. Okie dokie. Alright, so here's where we're at. I got pressure line coming in, return line going out. Again, everything's just roughly laid in right now until I hear this girl run. I could not fit this gauge with this weird Buick linkage, and I don't feel like making a completely new linkage. I might end up having to, but for now what I did was flip the gauge, which makes it kind of trick because you can't see it. And if I have to diagnose fuel pressure, I just got to look from that back corner with the air cleaner off and I can see what the pressure is. So that'll work for now. I'll probably end up having to put an extender on here to get this gauge out of the way of this linkage, and then I can flip it around this way. But coil wire is too short. I'll have to get another one of those, but new plugs are in, new wires are in. Distributor, coil, hyperspark ignition system is in. Holley EFI is bolted on. The fuel lines are ran from the engine compartment down. So now I think it's beer 30. Good morning, Vietnam. Well, first things first. I want to get this tank prepped, cleaned, return system set up, new sender installed, vent lines, electrical wires, everything hooked up, and I want to hang it in the car. That's the hardest thing left to do. So let's get to it. So I've got my return line tightened and plumbed in here. That was, you got to get creative with your tools. You know what I'm saying? Got the tank cleaned out as much as I can. And I got a brand new fuel sender to put in. I got this from Best Offer Counts. Pretty shiny unit. And he does supply a new gasket for it. All this is basically rubber cement for gaskets. Oh, great. Big old mess on the floor. Perfect. This is pretty simple here. Now these new senders don't typically come with hardware, so don't lose your hardware. You know what I'm saying? Knocking out two birds with one stone on this, because our gas gauge was working, but it wasn't working great. It was basically hanging out between a quarter tank and 3/4 of a tank. So also when we took the old one off, the fuel sock, which is kind of the first fuel filter in the system, was completely just rock hard and disintegrated, and as soon as I tried to manipulate it, it just fell apart. So rubber gaskets, hate them. Okay, just like you're putting a wheel or in a car, crisscross pattern, you just snug them up. It is already like volcano hot out here. Ah, gee golly willikers. There we are. New EFI return. 3/8 feed to our electric fuel pump. This is going to become an extra vent because I don't think that single vent back there will be adequate for EFI. We're going to be flowing a lot more pressure out of this tank. So have a vent on the front and a vent on the back. I'm going to go ahead and put a new connector and some wire on here, and I'm going to run leads for the fuel lines, and then we're going to hang it in the tank. I went ahead and prepped the tank, so I've got vent line, pressure line, another vent line, and then I went ahead and put a brand new piece of wire on here with a quick disconnect, weather sealed, so that I can just plug into the wire that's in the car, and if I ever have to drop the tank again, simple. So now you guys can watch me try to get this thing back in the car. Okay, vent line No. My wife's trying to help. Probably just lead to an argument. Okay. Vent line is ran. Filler neck. Get this wire up over it. That didn't work. Stay. Well, I'm gonna use an open flame over the top of the gas tank, hoping they don't die. Okay, vent line. What if I could go to sleep for days? Would you count the hours? Yeah. Gas tank is holding itself now. What if I could go to sleep for days? Would you count the hours? Faded memories of pain. Imagine that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a fuel system. So, factory return line has been converted into a fuel vent. I got a fuel loop here, isolated rubber clamps, and a dump tube. It's away from the exhaust. I will probably put a rollover valve on that once I go to Riley's or somewhere. Fuel comes out of the tank through a pre-filter, hits the electric pump, goes through a post-filter, comes back, hits the factory hard line for pressure. Return line comes out. This is the new return line that I've plumbed into that 6AN fitting that you saw earlier. Big thing with this was just to get it routed away from exhaust and secure so it doesn't rub. So, secure, 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 that goes up. And then, hi Ember, how you doing? I'm working on a car, yeah. Huh? I can't hear you, what'd you say?
What are you looking at with that light?
Oh, I'm looking at the car. Oh, I'm working on the fuel system. Yeah. Alright, so fuel hits the factory hard line, goes all the way down the driver's side, hits our EFI line here, goes up. So we now have a complete fuel system, ladies and gentlemen. All I gotta do is secure the vent line in the factory location in the back behind the license plate, and fuel system's done. Well, before I go to the store, I'm draining a little coolant out of the block so that I can put the coolant temperature sensor in the head. That's probably enough. Well, I tried this hokey oxygen sensor setup that they give you, and seems like everyone that uses these, the clamps are either too small or too big. In this case, they're not small enough for me, but looking at it, I don't really think it's gonna seal all that great anyway. So I'm gonna have to go to the store and get a steel bung that I'm gonna have to weld on. Okay, I want to maintain this factory dummy light for the coolant in the head on the passenger side. So there's a plug on the back side of the driver's head. And this Buick uses 1/2" MPT, not 3/8 MPT. The Holley kit comes with a 3/8 MPT coolant sensor. Here's the plug I took out of the head. Definitely gonna need a breaker bar for that. 1/2" MPT male to 3/8 MPT female. I got these off Amazon. But basically gonna goop this up with some sealant, put that in the head, and then that'll go in there. Too easy. Man, my brother got me a new tool for my birthday. Cordless die grinder. Death wheel. Listen to that thing. Game changer. Badass. Yeah. That's nice. Alright, well, if you're putting one of these kits in, just order an oxygen bung, because that hokey ass thing, bolt-on thing they send is garbage. And O'Reilly's charged me $18 for that, so just order it from Amazon or Summit or something, because that's ridiculous. But boogered that thing in. I didn't put it in the greatest spot for welding, but I had to go through the top of the car to kind of get it boogered in, but it shouldn't leak. It doesn't need to look pretty. So now the only thing left to do under the car is run electric wire to the electric fuel pump. And after that, we can put this thing on its wheels, and the only thing left to do is connect all the wires and try to fire it. Alright, so I used an existing bolt in the frame, cleaned it up with a whiz wheel, and use that as the ground. Follow the return line with some good shielded cable sheathing all the way down the car. So now I just got to feed that up in the engine compartment, drop the car on the ground, and we are done underneath. Now it's all electrical. And like I said, I'm just going to simply hook up each wire, put some gas in it, and try to get it to fire. Once I hear this thing run, then we'll make everything pretty. I've got her wired roughly. Wires everywhere, but everything should be connected. And I got coolant cap off. I put coolant in it. I put gas in it. Still got some stuff not connected on the valve covers. I don't have throttle linkage connected. None of that matters. I think this 2-short coil wire will at least get it started. Okay, we are in the car. Now I should hear a fuel pump prime. And I am not hearing a fuel pump prime. I am, however, getting the Hyperspark up. So let me go figure out why I have no fuel pump. Well, the timing is definitely off. Well, I was initially pretty stoked about this unit, and then after running great for about 20 minutes, all of a sudden I felt something hit me in the face, and I realized that the front 2 injectors were stuck full on, and yeah, super awesome. Not very happy with this at all right now. And anyhow, that's the carb I took off. That's a brand new rebuilt carb that I already have on the shelf. So guess what you think I'm gonna do? Sorry, Holley. I've already seen enough. Back to carb I go. Anyhow, we'll see you next time on Time with Steel Garage.